thread from strands of silk, shouldn't we say that we warp it or bend it? Only the worm spins it, we unwind it, etc. and warp it. The membrane is made by the worm, and that is the transition. The doctor cancels the death narrative with science. She warps it. The warp is not made of light, but it is prismatic, but not white light separated into colors, more a bend. The membrane is not made of liquid, it's made of disconnect. The story of fear is heard as data. The fear is fear of disappearing or of suffering, but the doctor hears counting, chemistry, calculation. How many parts? Cell counts, blood counts. Is it a flu? Is it the flu that came from birds, from China, from airports or convention centers, conferences where people from all over the world meet for a short time to talk about one thing and to bring diseases from their countries to spread around with handshakes and niceties? Or is it illness from the children, from other people's children? Or is the story more serious, more evolved, something involving tumors, bringing in the ears, dizziness, something told to the self? The belief in suffering, imagining suffering until it is suffering. Also, the bartender is the transition, the threshold between states of mind. They alter voices, the voice, the walk, walking. They change what you say, how you see. They change what you say, how you say. When you look at the bartender, how does the bartender look back? It's not the same. They are the membrane. They look for your eyes, looking for their eyes. That's all. That's all it means. That's how they know how to move towards the threshold. In a crowded bar, standing at the bar, pressed between two backs or some elbows, or leaning in the front or side, you look across the eyes of the bartender, matching your eyes with the eyes of the bartender. They move closer to the threshold. They move towards the membrane. The bartender has liquid at her fingertips. Can you imagine now stretched liquid threshold across the room, something like a web or a string? I should mention here that liquid is reflective. How do they look at you? You lean over the bar, turn sideways between other backs or elbows and search for the eyes of the bartender. Or you approach the empty bar and look directly for the eyes. She, at her fingers, in her fingers, her hands, has things that are distilled, brewed, infused from near and far. The membrane is the transition. It is made of liquid, so it reflects. Looking at your reflection and hearing that your voices change, think of this membrane stretched over a space, a specific space. It is perceptual. The membrane is perceptual. It is in the room. She has liquids that have been across the equator twice, or distilled from sugar plantations that were burnt in revolt, brewed by men with beards, and reducing. Is that what distilled is? Is it compression? Or is it a kind of rotting? I feel far away. Are you? Are you far away? I feel far. I feel it. I can feel it. I'm feeling it, which could be the membrane. I feel it in my hand, and it's cold but getting warmer in my hand. I can put it in my mouth. Is it in my mouth? Is it getting warmer in my mouth? It is in my hand, but because of its size, it can also be put in my mouth. To feel it, I just hold it in my mouth, not swallowing, just stillness and dripping. I keep it there, feel it, keep it there, feeling it, holding it in my hand, my throat. It is warming up, it is becoming my temperature, mine, my temperature, and it's warming up, and now it is body temperature, and it is not warming up, it is warm. my temperature. My hands feel cold on the outside and not cold on the inside. I mean, what I am holding is warm, but on the outside of my hand it is colder. Cold feels, I feel the way I am chewing. The chewing I, the membrane, is the transition. Is this the point of convergence I keep talking about? I feel it. I feel far away. I can feel it when I talk to you, and I can see it. I can see it because your eyes are looking at my eyes on the screen and not at the camera, so it looks like you are looking at my nose. I can feel it on my nose. It's that ancient measure again, the 10 centimeters that expands to be precisely the distance between us, the 10 centimeters between the camera on your computer and my eyes, the measure that keeps our eyes from meeting. We know about this space, this bended calculation, because it was the dream of Sumerians to find a way to speak with anyone when they're not near us, when they are far away, and when they are out of sight. And we are the extraction of this. We are the new letters and messengers. It is the right thing, the right thing. On the computer, when we were speaking, you were smoking. The white on the end of your cigarette would pulse and get bigger. You were sitting in the dark, so the white ember of your cigarette was pulsing, then waving around, making streaks, and then coming to your mouth again and glowing, and you exhale a bright white spot, an exalted blur, and then a smaller moving white spot, etc. When we were speaking on the computer, I noticed that as you were smoking, the yellow end of your cigarette pulsed and got bigger. You were sitting in the dark, so the yellow and the green were pulsing, and then waving around, making streaks, and then coming to your mouth, and then glowing again as you inhaled smoke so that I couldn't see it, and then the green spot and the smaller moving color, etc. The other day, someone was telling me about synesthesia, a neurological condition in which the mind ascribes a color to every word, multiplying in colors. I'm trying to imagine what it feels like in the brain, what color a word like retroactively is. She was telling me this story because she was talking about her daughter, who was a polyglot, and seemed to be able to remember languages without hearing them. She was able to remember languages after hearing them the first time. She was telling her daughter about synesthesia. She was 13 and could speak 7 or 8 languages, and her daughter said, "You don't see colors?" When we were speaking through the computer, I noticed that as you were, the orange on the end of your cigarette would pulse in the dark, and the orange ember of your cigarette was pulsing, and then waving around, making streaks, and then your mouth, and then glowing again, an orange spot, and then a smaller moving red spot, etc. On a flight, I woke up. On the screens, hanging from the ceiling, was a television show of people falling. People falling who didn't want to fall, or who didn't expect to fall. The people falling was funny. I could tell by the editing. The same scene over and over. Sometimes just the moment of falling. Sometimes it was slow motion. Sometimes it was very slow motion of just the moment of impact and the Coca-Cola splashing. An enormous woman, a fanny pack, and ice cream was falling. After she finished falling, the ice cream fell on her. She was falling, and on her face and in her eyes was the expression of falling. After she had fallen, the ice cream was still falling, and then it wasn't falling. Someone made a film of this with their telephone. They made the film with their telephone, and then they sent it to the TV station so that everyone could watch it in super slow motion over and over, while they were not falling, but being propelled by jet engines burning massive amounts of fuel, an unimaginable amount of fuel that came from under oceans. Then a child fell, and the old man fell, and the skater fell in one direction, and the skateboard flew in another, and a cat fell in one direction, and a glass of water rolled over and fell. The water fell on the child, whose reaction scared the cat, and I imagined myself there on the row of screens, saying over and over, in my head, I'm going to fall. I'm falling. I have fallen. But we were somewhere that's not falling, but landing. What are we saying when we tell ourselves, it will be all right? Will it be all right? Will I be okay? Will this work out? Does this turn out okay? I've landed in England. I am in England. I should leave England.
It doesn't look like it, but I'm totally prepared. I went outside to see if I was there. I went around the corner of the first time we met. I went into your bedroom and found a little bit of night, but just enough. I went and got sick, and now I don't know what to do. I went to school and was punished. I went to school and sat in the coat room and was on fire. I went outside and the sky was a computer program with no father. I went home early. I went to the store and thought of fingernails. I went over my happiness in 4s and 5s. I went into the citrus coffee cups of your hands and stayed there. I went to my mother and asked her to shut up. I went to my mother and asked if she'd hold me. I went into a city I didn't know and I was okay with it. I went to a city I didn't know and something like an accident killed me. I went home after the blood tests and you sat beside me. I went over to your house and destroyed things. I went, but I didn't know what I was doing. I went behind a garbage truck to be okay. I went on vacation and lived like a boat for 3 days. I went for it. I went to the forest and all my friends were digging up their brains. I went to the sea and thought, this is what I came for. This is what I came for. I went to the city of hammers and rang like a bell and rang like a bell. Now I get to be alone again, like I've always wanted to be. And there's nothing anyone can say about it, especially me. Especially since I've been begging for it. Isn't that what they say? He was begging for it, which is awful, but especially for girls. And now I'm alone like a red fire truck, thank God. A red fire truck buried beneath the earth of stuffed animals. The air around me thick as a mouth or a bar of soap, because I was asking for it after all. And after all, sometimes I can just lose it and shake the baby I am. Grab it by the shoulders and shake it into scrambled eggs with toast for a face, and no afterlife for him, and no TV either, and no dessert, since he did not do all his chores. Though punishing him by making him stay in his room will do no good since he'll like it too much. Better to drag him into an alley where he won't know where he is and tell him to shut up and make him sweep or sing. Or get him drunk and lie him down on a bed of snow. Or take off all his clothes and point my finger and laugh and tell him to jump and tell him to beg and shoot him in the head, shoot him right in the brains, right in the heart and say, "You were asking for it," and then hold him like I do so he doesn't feel alone, not like that. I made a way so nothing would ever work out. I made cereal. I made a crook in my arm for your head. I made a star out of apple seeds and the 2 hairpins you own. I made a mess out of the party. I made 4 + 4 and then I made you cry. I made my bed. I made a bed that would be impossible to sleep in. I made this thing happen. I made my body get bad and then I made nothing. I made a box with a horse on it for my mom when I was 12. I made a bee die. I made a slug die with salt and it was forever. I made dinner out of all the things I've been embarrassed about. I made myself eat it. I made no progress with communion or cherry blossoms. I made a sign of the cross and meant it. I made snow out of my brain. I made lost and found. I made lost. I made you think you were crazy and also laundry was hanging. I made a place where I could go on and on. I made longing out of a toothbrush. I made a goodbye and so long and fuck off and what are you doing? My mother worked like a dog for so long, it's nice to see her be the owner. There are only really 1,210,000 ways to die. The 5 main ones being your father drinking, your father breathing, your father touching anything at all, your father listening to fucking opera, your father looking at you and saying, "I see you." Like Pope Francis looking at a girl's knees when he was 12 and what made him love Jesus crawled out of his lunch pail right as she crossed her legs in the sign of a cross. Actually, there are only 10 ways to die, but I'm too afraid to say. I'm brave enough to walk home, though. Brave enough for the dark if there's a cross in it, a telephone pole, or a weirdly shaped tree. If there's a dog being walked, if there's a dog at all. I want to take this opportunity to say that the Gettysburg Address is the money shot of any speech I've ever read aloud to my mom and dad. Which is to say, if you are ever even a little bit afraid, just know that other people are too. It's not just you standing in the spice aisle at the grocery store asking where they keep the anus extract or if you can use vanilla instead. In years to come, when you sign all your letters with your mind only, know that someone is alone in their bed with a body sort of like the body you have, and that she believes that she is dying, that she is thinking about her porous mother and scotch-tape father. You go anywhere in the world, even inside your own self, and your mom and dad will be right there like 2 warm eggs with a little chocolate and blood inside them. I'm sorry. I was just walking home and thinking about my mom and thinking about my dad and saw one of those blue bags people use to pick up after their dog because they love that stupid dog so much, even though it's not a baby, and even though they can't have sex with it. Not really. Not the way you and I have sex with a ball and a stick, calling each other in from the dark, whispering, "Good boy," and whispering, "Good girl." I don't know what happened. I don't know what I was looking like or how this morning went. I don't get why with your feet and fingers. I don't know where I will be buried. I don't play an instrument and also October is coming. I don't get the light somatic response system. I don't do this. I don't do my brain in the order of the stations of the cross. I don't do fuck you, give me some more. I don't know how not to. I don't know why I arrive without ever being anywhere. I don't vanish in white sheets and 2 holes for eyes. I don't steal flowers anymore. I don't enter the cool forest dark, and also it's a brain trust. I don't do light everlasting. I don't do a plastic bag around my head. I don't campfire without you and your son in the beach grass. I don't talk about the murder trial. I don't not ever not talk about it because it's everything. I don't hashtag my heart. I don't glass breaking at night. I don't gas station at night. I don't elevator between the floors of my brain. I don't know what to do, and now that I've done all of this to you. It's hard to think of us out here in space when I'm watching you crawl naked across the living room floor, but there you have it. We are on Earth, rotating the black and blue cosmos, even when I'm sucking on a can of nitrous, or dropping acid and riding a horse made out of radiation through a forest of famous ice sculptures. The moon up, melon orange, and then down. We are floating in the great mystery of Jesus and neutrons, of event horizons and Qurans. I will always prefer the religiosity of your ankles after a bath where we sank into the dark galaxy of soap and water, where your right foot knocked down the shampoo bottle, while I pulled your hair, and you, because you love me, grabbed me by the neck like a Roman soldier and squeezed until I came, and all was dark a moment before the moon turned into stars. I stayed inside while everyone else was with the others. I stayed inside your body too long. I stayed and I thought a country would rise from the water. I stayed and stayed. I stayed and addressed the crowd, and it was no one. I stayed in the darkest corner of your hair. I stayed for the dishes and the towels. I stayed inside the dotted eye of my brain. I stayed inside and waited for the Surgeon General to call my name. I stayed near the light in your window and the red leaves. I stayed long enough for your son to love me. I stayed inside an unknown planet. I stayed because I didn't know what else to do, and also knives. I stayed past my bedtime. I stayed though I'm a little boy with a bedtime and a mother mind. I stayed and helped clean up. I stayed for the love of ferns and rain and the sand in your shoes. I stayed and drew flowers on my arm. I stayed and carved the flowers out. I stayed because they told me there would be medicine. I stayed because there was none. I stayed for the sundial and the blowjobs and the Christmas lights. I stayed though I was asked to leave. I stayed because leaving is like a plane exploding inside a nursery. Just wait and I'll be human any minute now. You won't know what to do with all the hair and blood I plan on growing. I'm going to not be a cloud anymore. I promise not to be an emergency or phenobarbital or a stick of gum. Soon I'm going to show up like a rented limousine in front of the high school reunion, where everyone's penises and vaginas are older but still want to skip class. I'm going to jump out of the windows, my arms into the sky around my head, where a jet stream is cutting the throat of an airplane. And when I land, I'll land with all the suitcases I've ever packed, and then I'll be ready to tell you why I like you. I like you. I like you because of your underwear. And I like you because 2 businessmen are kissing in the back of a limousine that smells like Listerine. And a tree is traveling without its branches to Japan. And somewhere right now, a dog is eating another dog. And even though they knew each other, and even though once they fell asleep with each other, one of the dogs dreaming and the other not dreaming at all, but looking at them, you could never guess which one was expanding and which was doing the cooling. I heard the dog crying all night in the car and felt right at home. I heard the rain. I heard about what happens in that place. I heard the freeway and elevators and landing gears and also nothing. I heard I was dying. I heard the room when the room walked away. I heard the floor when I fainted. I heard everything that was left over and also something calling out. I heard the brain seize up. I heard about what happened and how it sounded really bad and I'm sorry. I heard the call to prayer. I heard white linen and floss and dispatches and a single piece of paper. I heard dark all around. I heard dark all around the seashell. I heard you would never come back and also the moon. I heard the moon knocking its own teeth out. I heard the computer start up and the rice cooking and the groom smoking. I heard the party start. I heard myself and wanted to cut it into ribbons. I heard I hesitated. I heard people laughing at me and why shouldn't they? I heard the expression on your face and people speaking in a submarine. I heard the men in the stairwell. I heard the biting and pulling and also someone saying, I love you, I love you. Bad, bad boy and a wooden spoon and a metal spoon and a belt and a cigarette being put out on the lower back and the flat, soft body of the hand becoming something other than itself, like a face becoming a fence. The air all around, like the air in a submarine. And then the light of my own room, that soft blue egg. And the bed swimming inside it, and sounds my siblings were making outside the hollow fake oak door. Sounds like small brass instruments, like little wolves eating spiders. The sound of their webs coming apart. Everyone I've ever met, everyone I don't really know, is a God. God, my mail lady, and God, my father, who drinks wine with his second wife in San Francisco. God, my stepmother. There are 12 people who live in my apartment building, 12 gods living the lives of gods. And on the porch across the street, a god is putting Neosporin on the knee of her son because his knee is skinned and bleeding. Poor little bloody God, I want to lift him up and hold him. There are all the gods in the dirt decomposing or eating the things that are decomposing the way gods will eat other gods. And in your house, you're doing yoga in front of a statue of a god so that one god is reaching toward another out of pain and joy the way gods do. And later tonight, on a first date, senior year, high school, two gods will leave a movie theater together, holding hands, both scared about each other's bodies. And one of the gods will ask the other if she would ever go into outer space. And this god will think a moment and say, well, really, like we are already in outer space on our planet and stuff. Like right now, like we're already there. It's weird. And this upsets the god holding her hand because he wanted to be smarter and more interesting. So he lets go and says, yeah, well, whatever. And then he does what gods do. He makes her into something that she isn't. Then sends her back down to earth so we can kill her again. And once she's dead and placed in a cave, she's brought back to life so we'll never forget, so we'll never remember what we did. Now, everything is going to be antidepressants and roses. Now I get to go home for real. Now the light in the bathroom is flickering, but it's off. Now my brain is jump ropes and licorice and also tubes. Now my mother is calling. Now my father is coming home. Now fluorescent lights and the unbuttoning inside the MRI. Now don't look at me. Now the razor covered in pink duct tape under my pillow so I have to work hard to get there. Now let's just calm down on what exactly is happening here. Now tissue paper and magazines, I'm sorry. Now I can just hide in bed and carve out initials into the bark of my arm. Now moonlight and lip balm. Now say whatever it is you were going to say. Now settlements and rocket launchers, but also I've got champagne. Now I can be the heir I've always wanted to be. Now I don't have to do this anymore. Now you won't be bothered. Now the doors and the windows and the fuzzy peach streetlight, whatever. Now don't touch me. Now don't worry, that's enough. There's enough here for everyone, I promise. Now parades and confetti and sugar-covered almonds goodbye. Now the extraterrestrial abandonment of myself. Now no more belts and bras and keys and room service and sheets and fucking around. Now this is happening to all my insides. Is it happening to yours? Now this is not what I expected. I'm sorry. It'll only take a minute. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you. You want to ask something or to ask to read more or something? Should we put that? What came to you and what came?
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Let's have a good time.